Hi, I'm Bart Anderson, faculty member at AATE Steel University, and I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about teaching clinical skills online. So one of the first tips that I can give you about teaching clinical skills online is to not change how you approach or think about teaching these skills. Teaching skills online can and should look very similar to the teaching skills in person, with just a few small differences. Many of the same principles will apply, and we're just using a different delivery method. Both in-person and online should include preparatory materials to get the students familiar with the skill they are learning, and often these are in the form of readings, video demonstrations, or other content that helps increase the students' knowledge of the skill. Next, we'll have an actual demonstration of the skill and an explanation of how it's performed. In a face-to-face environment, this usually is a live demonstration. In the online environment, this is likely a video or some other form of digital content that explains the skill. Once the student is knowledgeable about the skill and has seen it performed and understands the steps, they next need to practice. In most instances, this practice would occur with another classmate or someone who is available to them. In the online environment, this likely wouldn't be any different. Roommates or friends or classmates can all be practice partners. However, there may be some challenges with this during situations where social distancing is required. But even then, there may be options for practice with persons who are sheltering in place with the student. Finally, once the student practices and performs the skill, they need to be assessed and receive some feedback. In the face-to-face environment, this happens in real time. Online, it is delayed, but there are actually many more opportunities for feedback in the online environment because the performance has been recorded. So this is a basic checklist that I use when putting together a module to teach skills online. And first, I work to identify existing resources. Then, I develop any additional resources that are not already available. From there, I'll identify some specific ways to check the students' knowledge before they practice, and then provide opportunities for practice and conduct the assessment and provide feedback once they've practiced and are relatively comfortable with the skill. We do this regularly in our face-to-face classes, so we just need to adjust our delivery methods to meet the needs online. Depending on the skill you're teaching, there are probably already a lot of existing resources that you can utilize. If you were to do a Google search or a YouTube search for the specific skills that you're trying to teach, chances are you're going to find something. Two YouTube channels that I really like are Physical Therapy Haven and Physio Tutors. They have a very wide range of different types of orthopedic skills in video form with lots of good demonstrations. Many of our textbooks also have digital content, so you may want to look into those resources if they're available to you. I would also encourage you to reach out to your institution's librarians, especially if you have a digital librarian, as they often have access to educational tools that are available to faculty. Existing resources can be used for preparatory materials, so the things the students will review before they actually begin practicing the skill. These could be articles, book chapters, video demonstrations, images, or any kind of content that's going to help the student better understand the skill that they're learning. If you can't seem to find existing resources, you can always develop your own. Think about how you would demonstrate the skill in a face-to-face setting, and then try to replicate that in video or image form. Other ideas for resources you can create include step-by-step instructions for how to perform the skill, and consider a common mistakes checklist so students would know what to avoid. Once you've developed your preparatory materials using existing and self-developed resources, you'll want to create a couple of opportunities to check your students' knowledge before they actually start practicing. This helps to ensure that they understand the mechanics of the skill and can describe its performance and when to use it. I like to have students demonstrate their knowledge of the skill before they start practicing. In a face-to-face environment, this usually looks like a Q&A session during a lab where I have them go over the step-by-step instructions of the skill with me. Maybe have them identify common mistakes or pitfalls that they need to avoid, and then have a discussion about when and how they should use the skill in an actual clinical situation. Online, we can do these same things with just a different delivery. You could create a short quiz that asks them to put the steps of the skill in the correct order, or maybe provide them with a series of images or videos and ask them to identify the incorrect aspects of the technique and discuss what kind of mistakes were made in the video. You might think about a short narrative description that the students write out about how the skill is used in the context of clinical practice. Once you've provided your prep materials, demonstrations of the skill, and then ask students to demonstrate their understanding of the skill, it's time to develop their hands-on performance. When possible, actually practicing the skill with another person is ideal. However, given our current situation, this may be difficult, especially where social distancing is required. In such an instance, actual hands-on practice may need to be postponed. However, in most instances where we're teaching clinical skills online, the student will have someone available that they can practice the skill with. When they practice, after they feel confident in their ability to perform the skill, have them record themselves performing that skill. Matt provided some great logistical tips for creating videos that you can provide to your students to be followed. I like to have students describe exactly what they're doing when performing the skill. This is another form of a knowledge check. I also like to ask them, either in the video or after the skill is done in a written format, to reflect on the skill and identify challenges within their performance. Once recorded, they can then post the video or a link to the video to a class forum and receive feedback. And as I said earlier, this actually provides more opportunities for detailed feedback than most of our face-to-face labs. You can ask students to watch their own video and critique their performance and identify areas for improvement. You can have students provide feedback to each other, and you, of course, can provide feedback to the students as the instructor. You can even divide the skill performance into 2 or more submissions where the student takes the provided feedback and then performs the skill again, hopefully demonstrating improvements based on the identified areas of feedback. When looking at assessments, I encourage you to develop a specific rubric for the skill that highlights all of the key aspects of performance. This can easily be developed from your preparatory materials and your demonstration videos. So let's take a look at an example. Let's use the teaching of an upper limb neural tension test as our skill example. In preparation, I would want to identify existing resources that I can use to help teach students this skill online. This might include videos such as this one from Physio Tutors on YouTube. Or I might identify relevant literature describing the upper limb neural tension test. I might also decide to create some of my own resources, such as videos or images. Once I have my preparatory materials, I begin to think about how I want to check the knowledge of the students in relation to the skill before they actually start practicing on their own. Any number of options will work, considering quizzes within your learning management system that might ask the students to identify a correct order of the skill steps, or maybe a short answer question that asks them to narratively describe the skill. Maybe ask a question about common mistakes or pitfalls. You could create images or videos of incorrect techniques and ask them to identify what is wrong and how to correct it. Any form of knowledge check to help the student better understand the skill can be used. Maybe develop an online worksheet or have them write a short paper describing the technique. Next, we have them practice, and then once they feel confident, to record themselves performing the skill.
And then I'm going to do the upper neural tension test for the ulnar nerve and the median nerve. So, pin her scapula down, putting her in external rotation, full supination, and extend her wrists and fingers. And I'm going to pull in. As you see, she's kind of wincing a little bit. So, where do you feel this pain?
My whole arm.
Your whole arm? Okay, what about if I go out here?
Just my elbow.
Just your elbow? Okay. But can't do this. That hurts. All right.
That video can then be uploaded or linked within your online class, and students can critique their own performance, provide feedback to each other, and obviously receive feedback from you as the instructor. If you developed a step-by-step checklist during your preparatory materials, you can use that as your assessment rubric, or you can develop your own assessment rubrics for your self-assessment, peer assessment, and faculty assessments. Regardless of what skills you're teaching online, this template will provide you with all of the key steps for translating your face-to-face teaching to a digital format. When possible, remember to utilize existing resources, but don't be afraid to create your own. Develop ways to check your students' knowledge before they actually start practicing. This helps to ensure a good understanding of the skill. Allow for lots of time for hands-on practice, and then encourage students to reflect on their own performance and how they can improve. And finally, have students post the video of their skill performance and then provide opportunities for them to provide feedback to each other and to get feedback from you as the instructor.